Howdy y'all. I nerded out a bit after work today. Did a little bit of stuff and figured I'd just make a little video about it real quick. Ignore the tunnel vision that you're going to get for a second. It's so that you can have a nice-ish splash screen type thing there. There's the tunnel vision. But we'll get rid of that. I do have some private stuff up there in the corner, so that'll be on the top. I will come back to tunnel vision periodically just to make sure it's actually recording. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, see? All right. So I have a bot. It is called Phuxtain. Anyway, the Bottle Connect, it does a web page right now also. I plan on using that for like a status check to see if it's up or not, but I may not need it. There's a list of users that it's going to ignore because otherwise you get bot spam. The bots start talking to each other off of trigger keywords and stuff, and it just gets really bad. I'm gonna change this to be a lookup value somewhere else instead of it being hard coded. Other than that, basically high level when a message comes in, make sure it's not empty, and make sure it's not one of the ignored users. Then it starts going through the JSON. It started off with just a JSON trigger file. And then I decided to split up each one of the words in the message that comes through. So if I type hello world, this is Bob, it'll do a check for a trigger on each one of those words. Each bot will do a trigger on each one of those words. So if bot A says test and the other one says test, they'll trigger off of each other. And it gets really spammy. Then there's other triggers like top words and stuff like that. Does a database insult or an insult. We'll do that. It goes out to my other website. Gets a temperature. Yeah, a lat long location. But also, when it does the word splitting, it tags all of the words for each user so it can do a word count for the top words. Yeah, for the top words trigger. All right, the cool part, or another cool part, I should say. Let's make a change. Yes, I'm on the main branch. Don't actually do it to main, but whatever. We'll just make a silly little change to force a new deployment or a new change here. Right, so shifted comment and stage that sucker up. Bloop. When that happens, Captain Hook says that I pushed a change to the main branch on my project Phuxtain and stuff. All right, so if I come up here to that project, go to pipelines, you can see that it's running because there's a CI/CD job. First step is going to be to bump the version. So while we're here thinking about it, the version information is stored in AWS at the moment on that key, and it'll have a value. So right now it is version 223. Well, 2.23. And it doesn't actually bump the version unless the push to Docker Hub is complete. So it finds the version and bumps it, but then caches that version for later, because if the build fails, I don't want the version number to auto increment. However, if it does, then it'll go ahead and push it back and all that other jazz. And now we wait. Hopefully not long. Let me see if I can fill the time with something else. Yeah. So does it show? It shouldn't show my password in here. Yeah. Okay. So it found the current version of 2.23 and new version of 2.24. But if I check it, it's still 2.23 because again, it has not completed the build and push up to Docker Hub. It's a sanity check to make sure it only goes through where it's supposed to. All right. So here it's building the project or the Docker container. And when it pushes it, it's going to push it with a tag of the new version. So it'll be, like Phuxtain, whatever, colon 2.24. And then it'll be 2.5 and so on. If the build fails, it won't increment that number. I think I mentioned that. I'm sure I mentioned that. I'm also just killing time because holy crap. There we go. All right. So it pushed stuff. And now we can go back into pipelines. We're getting there, yo. The last step here is to automatically deploy. Uh-oh. Did I get ahead of the game? Job succeeded. Okay. Refresh. There we go. The last step is to deploy the ECS container, the Elastic Container Service. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So to do that, what's actually happening is it's forcing a new deployment on the container on the service. So it goes out, and when that service starts up, it automatically pulls down the new version number and any other changes that were made. Kind of cool, huh? All right. So also, while we're waiting here, we can run this. It'll be 2.2.4 because it did indeed push the version up to Docker Hub. And now this part is going to go out and, right, ECS service successfully updated. That's what all that jazz is. So now we come over here to our thing. This is 2.2.3. Now refresh, it'll be 2.2.4. But also we have a blue-green deployment on our Phuxtain service. So you'll see that there's a blue-green. It never actually goes down. It'll wait for one to go up and get fixed, patched, and good to go. Kind of cool, huh? All right, so if I come in here and we come into our bot central, this is where the bots were talking to each other, is doing some stuff. Do test. That is the one bot. And eventually here, this will be 0 pending and 1 running. There we go. Well, it's 2 running. The other one will die off in a second. But I bet you if we come in here and do test again, there'll be 2 bots. Yeah, because there are 2 containers running at the moment. Once this kills the other one, it'll just go back down to 1 container. I can't really show you the environment variables on here because there are other proprietary things like database connection strings and stuff. But just trust me that it is coming. It's using that version, which is why the container gets rebuilt. Come on, Cletus. Anyway, eventually that'll go down to 1. Oh, and the other thing I did, yeah. All right, we'll start up a dev Docker container, a dev version. It has a different bot ID because otherwise the bots start talking to each other. All right, so we'll still get 2 replies, but there'll be replies from the 2 different bots. One is Phuxtain and the other one's something else. I forget what. Let's see, bot. All right, so we're actually getting 2 from Phuxstick because there are 2 instances of that one going, and then bots. It hasn't finished deploying. But here, if I copy that, whack, 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 paste, whack, 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 and no, I don't know why I pasted that in there. You can see my damn screen. Okay, I'm getting tired. That's all I got at the moment. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, now we're back down to 1. So if I come back in here and do test, we should get 1 from that one, and the other bot, Phuxstick, should trigger off of that, but not off of this one. All right, so the other one's not quite dead. Anyway, that's what I did today. Happy hunting. Be well.